start recording first this time. Hello. This is the recording.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, recording.
And now we're going to start streaming.
Yeah.
Burp.
Powering up the shield.
Powering up the shields. That's what broke it. I shouldn't have done it again.
Why'd you break it again?
It's all broken.
Like the
Oh,
broken
I
Isles.
see it. I see it.
Oh,
Oh, and now we're to a Miller Lite commercial. Really?
that makes sense.
Way to go, Miller Lite. You're reaching our audience.
Oh, I'm a
Obviously,
Bud Light commercial.
it's Miller time.
It's Miller
Oh,
time.
dude, we have competing beer commercials.
Oh, what? You have Bud Light on yours?
Oh yeah, I've got Bud Light.
Oh, man. Look at that. Bunch of
Bud
alcoholics
Light
here.
hour Wednesdays at 7 p.m.
Azeroth Roundtable. But speaking of drinks, Ben, we have drinks, actually.
Yes, we do.
Oh, really?
We should do the drinks.
We will after I tweet.
Oh, friggin' Tweeter. Always ruining everything.
Yeah, no, what's up with that, right?
What's up, Twitter? What you doing?
It's the tweet the deeds.
And I retweeted. With my phone being at 5%. Okay.
Rest in peace, phone.
The details have been tweeted, John.
The deeds
All
have
right,
been-
so we're ready for drinks.
We're ready for drinks.
We're ready for drinks. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry I couldn't get one to you, but they arrived today.
What are they?
Okay, so here's the thing. I've been on a big nostalgia kick lately. Okay, I haven't been at all. But I happen to like Ghostbusters quite a bit. And I know, John, you're a fan, aren't you?
Yes. It's true.
Yes.
This man has
Fair.
no dick.
Sorry to hear that, John.
I understood the reference.
Yay! So when I was growing up, there was something called The Real Ghostbusters. It was a cartoon, and I watched it religiously. Absolutely loved it because, yay, Ghostbusters in a cartoon form, and it was fun. Well, High C decided to, bank on that and make a drink called Ecto Cooler. Well, with the new Ghostbusters that came out, they decided to revitalize Ecto Cooler and sell it in juice box and can form. So I was really excited about that. I looked it up, and the only places that they were selling it were Amazon, which I'm like, yay, I like Amazon, and Walmart, which it's Walmart. And so I was going to order some off of Amazon. I'm like, okay, cool. And it said, hey, it's only $9.97 if you're a Prime member in this new Prime grocery shopping thing. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, I'm not a Prime member. Okay, how much is it? It's like $30 if you're not. And then it's another $10 to ship. So I'm like, well, I could spend $40, or let's take a look at Walmart.
The
So I
story
ordered
ends
it.
with Ecto Cooler.
I ordered it online at Walmart for $10. And I had it arrive today. In my hand, I have a can of Ecto Cooler. John, in your hand, I believe you have an Ecto Cooler.
It's not in my hand, but it is in my proximity.
I say we crack them open and have a taste.
Let's do it. Now, I've never had in my life Ecto Cooler out of a
Oh,
can.
really?
I was always a juice box kid.
Yeah, same here.
So we're
unfortunately,
going
I
to
didn't
find
have a
out
juice-
how that goes. All right. Doing it.
All right. Ooh, it smells citrusy, which makes sense since it is labeled as a citrus drink.
Yeah.
Does it smell slimy?
Smells like Slimer. Yep. That's Ecto Cooler.
Yep, that's definitely Ecto Cooler.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
That is Ecto Cooler.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Why'd they get rid of this? This is alright.
Because the real Ghostbusters ended?
That doesn't mean Ecto Cooler needs to end.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They've started bringing back a lot of things that I liked back in the day.
Is
Do you
Crystal
like Crystal
Pepsi one of them?
Pepsi?
Actually, oh, you know what? I had a Crystal Pepsi today. And it does not
I
taste
see.
the way I remembered Crystal Pepsi tasting. Although maybe I'm thinking of Didn't Pepsi do a Pepsi Blue? Maybe I'm thinking of Pepsi Blue.
Yeah.
There
Well, the thing
was
is, they
a
had
Pepsi
Crystal
Blue.
Pepsi and then Pepsi Crystal, which was like a Sprite-ish drink.
Okay,
But the Crystal Pepsi was supposed to be clear Pepsi.
okay, I'm thinking of the I'm thinking of the one that was blue.
Okay.
Or maybe I assume it was blue because it tasted
No.
like Windex.
No, there was Pepsi.
There
Blue.
was a blue Pepsi.
Yeah,
Okay.
that we had that back when we worked at that video game retailer store up in Flagstaff.
Flame Flop. It rhymes
Yep.
with. Yeah, that Crystal Pepsi was okay. There was nothing wrong with that. I don't think I've ever had it though, so I don't think I can be nostalgic for it.
Did it taste like cola?
No.
Okay.
It tasted like carbonated sweet water.
Hmm.
It's weird because see, Crystal Pepsi to me just tastes like Pepsi.
No, it definitely didn't just taste like Pepsi. There was something missing. I couldn't taste the brown.
You couldn't taste the dye.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so it's funny. I am one of those people that, despite the fact that right there on their website they say there is no flavor difference between colors of M&Ms, yet I can predict with startling accuracy, with my eyes closed, what color the M&Ms were.
Well, no, they do have a different flavor. It's like minute, but
yes,
it's different.
The darker colored ones are more intense, and the lighter color ones are not as intense. I can totally tell the difference between the color of them. So it doesn't surprise me that I can tell the difference between Crystal Pepsi and Pepsi.
John, you realize I'm going to put this to the test at BlizzCon.
Sure, I'll take it.
I'm going to get a bag of M&Ms, and when you guys record your episode of Azeroth Roundtable, assuming you're doing one again this year, I'm going to give you some M&Ms, and while blindfolded, we are going to see if you can tell the colors of those M&Ms.
Sure,
I've done it before, he's passed.
I'll do it.
I think out of 10, you had one wrong.
Yeah.
Wow. That's insane. They all taste the same.
I may have a harder time telling exact color, but I get pretty darn close. Like, usually I'll do two things. Like, I'll say, okay, it's a lighter color, probably a yellow. And so I think between lighter and darker color, I have almost a perfect record, and picking the exact color, I can get pretty darn close on. So I used to eat a lot more M&Ms than I do, so I might have to have some practice M&Ms before I get started, but it's been a while. But
of course, I could shake things up and throw a few Skittles in there to really like.
Yes.
Oh, that's definitely a Skittle, and now I can't taste the difference between anything.
Here, have a Reese's Pieces instead.
I wonder if you can tell the difference between Reese's Pieces. I mean, you would think so if it's the dye that you're tasting.
I haven't thought to try that, actually. I don't know.
It's probably going to be like brown and then light colors.
Well, there's brown, orange, and yellow, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, orange and yellow probably would taste very similar. I don't know if I could tell them apart, but I could probably tell the brown ones apart.
I say so.
Apparently you can taste the color brown. That's what I'm saying. That if there's one thing we've learned today, let it be you can taste the color brown.
Yep, and that's why
we've actually learned that John can taste the rainbow, literally.
Dang it, you beat me to it. All right, let's get this started.
Okay.
I thought we did. This is great.
Yeah.
Should all be this should be the show.
Well,
I mean, it's not Whopperitos, but it's close enough.
I don't want to try that.
I don't know. Burger King uses horrible cheese. Like the worst cheese. It's like they said, hey guys, you know what would be a good cost-saving measure? What if we put cheap, crappy cheese? And then someone was like Kraft Singles? And they were like, no. Like, worse
somehow
than Kraft Singles.
Like government cheese.
Like off-brand Kraft Singles. Like Daft Singles. Sponsored by Daft Punk.
Yeah, are there commercials full of like techno music and nothing else?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
All
Whenever
right.
you're ready, Ro, kick us
They're,
off.
they're up all night to
Okay.
get cheesy.
It
It's
ain't
not
easy being
cheesy.
cheesy. Gotcha again.
Dang it.
All right, here we go.
What are we doing? I feel
I think we're doing a
underprepared for this show, even though we don't prep for it. I don't feel prepared. I'm not prepared. What are we talking about?
Probably about Legion.
Wow.
World of Warcraft?
I've heard of that. That's the one with the fighting people, right?
Yeah.
They craft war.
And what does this one do?
That one is put on top of your head and keeps the sun out of your eyes.
Great.
Yes, it's called a hat, John.
Ah, fantastic.
Okay. Hi, this is Ro from the Realm Maintenance Podcast, and you are listening to Azeroth Roundtable.
Yes. Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. I'm recording it, silly.
Well, technically, you're listening to it, too.
Well,
You're listening
John
to...
never listens to his own podcast. I'm pretty sure he said that, haven't you?
yeah, I usually don't.
John, you're listening to 2/3 of Azeroth Roundtable right now.
Well, let's be real. 1/3.
And
Welcome
now-
to Azeroth Roundtable, episode 178. My name is Ben Bumhofer, and with me, as always, is John Jagger. How's it going, John?
Hi, Ben. I'm happy to be here. It's Friday, and it's Friday night, which I just realized again. And that's exciting news.
Yeah, I think so. I enjoy it.
Naps can fuddle with your mind.
And how long was your nap today?
A little under an hour.
Okay, not bad, not
Yeah.
bad. You got some good REM sleep in there?
Yeah, it was enough to make me forget all sense of time and place, so it was good.
Oh, those are always the best. Definitely. Would you be happy to know that on this Friday, which you're already happy about, that we have with us this week, Ro sitting at the round table?
Of course. I'm always happy when Ro's here.
Me too. Welcome, Ro.
Oh, hey, how's it going? It's good to be on a WoW podcast when I'm actually playing World of Warcraft. It's been a while.
It's good to be hosting one while I actually play World of Warcraft. It's been a couple months.
It's funny. I have been. I mean, just looking at my hours and thinking about how much time I've spent playing WoW the past couple of weeks. If you don't count the time that I raid with Furt, which I hasn't been too much lately at all, actually, but the raid time aside, as far as like just solo time, I've spent more time playing WoW in the past couple weeks than I probably have the rest of the year combined.
Yeah, I think so.
It's amazing what a dynamic event like Invasions can do, even when it gets like the whole population like talking about how great they are, but they suck in this way and that way, and there's a flaw with the tagging and the XP, and then the devs and the CMs are all like, okay, well, we're gonna work on a hotfix, and the hotfix happens, and everyone's like, oh, okay, it's great, but this is still messed up, and then they hotfix it again. It's like, oh my gosh, I went from level 95 to level 99 in half an hour, which I almost practically did today.
Wow. So, effective tool for leveling is what you're saying.
If you have, okay, it's an effective tool for leveling provided you have a character that can fly. Right now, just the way Invasions are set up, and because they're like three every 2 hours and such, if you don't have flying, it can be a real pain in the butt to travel to each invasion and get through it and get all 3 done in 2 hours. If you have flying though, especially if you are a mage and you have flying, which is what I've been doing tonight, it's a breeze, and the XP that you can get as of this recording is pretty insane. You can kill an elite mob in an invasion right now after this hotfix, and if you have rested XP, it's giving you 80,000 experience, which in the level 90 range, that's like 1/6 of your level right there.
Wow. All right.
Okay.
Well, I guess I know what I'm doing with my paladin later, because
There you go.
I have to totally put you in your place. Even
Oh.
without flying, it's not that bad. Because, okay, so, I started leveling as a mage. My first alt, I had to learn all of the shortcuts and all of the fastest possible ways to get to places and from places. And I ran my shaman around, and it's really not that bad. Like, I was incredibly surprised with how easy it was to get from one place to another. And this is actually even without having my hearth set at 2 moons or 7 stars or whichever one the horde site is. And I was able to get 3 invasions done in about, I think, an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's not bad at all for no flying.
Yep, except there is one thing that I will definitely warn you of, which pissed me off to no end. I came from Stranglethorn Vale up through Duskwood to get to Westfall, and I'm just going along on the road, and mobs are half my level. I think I was like 46, 47 at the time, something like that. Everything else is 20 something, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, just dead. So I'm like, what?
Heart attack.
Yeah, it's a scary.
Someone wrote your name in their death note or something.
So apparently there's like this one camp that I was passing had a whole bunch of mobs that were like 20, and then this skull question mark level to me, like just sitting right there. Yeah, Deadwind Pass. No, not Deadwind Pass. It was Duskwood. I was coming up from Stranglethorn into that zone that's right next to Westfall. I'm like,
I know the exact area you're talking about. It's kind of an intersection area, and it's not too far from where there's a whole bunch of ogres.
No. It has nothing to do with ogres. I'm telling you, I wasn't in Deadwind Pass. I know my way.
No, but I'm not. I know, but there's an area with ogres in southern Duskwood.
Ogres.
And it's like right near a crossroad.
Man, I got an ogre slaying knife. It's got a +9 against ogres.
Yeah. All I can tell you, I didn't see any ogres at all.
Okay.
All I know is that there was just a human who killed me, who is way higher level than everything else that was around.
Well, you gotta be careful.
Yeah, it was probably a guard of some sort, like a dusk.
They're putting the
dusk
danger
guard.
back in World of Warcraft, Ben.
Apparently.
I
But
mean-
seriously, what the crap, man?
Go back, play old games where there's,
Yeah.
you gotta run through Kithakor Forest at day only, because night's too dangerous.
So
Yeah.
this was on a character that couldn't fly, that you were taking them through Duskwood?
Yeah, level 40 something.
Okay. Because I was going to say, one thing you could do, I haven't done it, but one thing you could do with a non-flying character that might be a little less dangerous is if you had water walking potions, you could just go from Stranglethorn and run your way up the coast.
Oh, good point. It's a shaman. I should totally do that next time.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've solved the world's problems. I'm gonna level
Problem
my
solved.
paladin. Ben's gonna walk on water. Rose just happy to be here. Guys,
I'm really happy to be here.
guys,
Yeah.
Show's over.
I gotta tell you something.
Yeah.
This week's little quest shindig that we got up to, the new little bit of quest, was pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah, it
wasn't
was.
it?
It involved going back into Ulduar, which actually, so I'm a bigger fan of Karazhan, which there's a lot more to talk about there, but I thought the coolest part was going back into Ulduar. Mostly
Yeah,
because it didn't look like... it looked like Ulduar, but they cleaned it up.
Mm-hmm.
And Dalaran hanging out over Karazhan, also really cool.
Of course, the thing I will say that's really funny is that you can't do anything there. So it's just like shopkeepers just standing outside their shop, like, like a car accident just happened or something. And they're just kind of looking around like, yeah, stuff's going crazy right now.
Yep, it's the times.
Yeah.
It's the time.
Can I buy No.
No.
We're not inside the shop. Just.
We gotta wait for all these demons to get out of the roads. I mean, come on now.
So I have a nit to pick, and let's just get into it. I am going to be opening a can of worms with this one.
Okay.
We're prepared for your emails and your responses.
Oh, yeah. We love those.
Because John's going to say something controversial.
Well, okay. I have more to talk about Dalaran, but go ahead.
Well, this sort of ties in, but...
Okay.
I am really sick of what they've done with Jaina's character.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
I really, so you hear the people talk about, what if she's actually a dreadlord in disguise? Well, first of all, it's a shitty disguise then. But second, I'm really sick of it. And look, I understand that people go through bad days and it changes them, and just saying like, oh, I want happy Jaina back is a little belittling, and that gets into a whole kind of, shitty mentality to have. I know that there's more stuff to do with regards to that and a deeper conversation to say, but here's my problem with what they've done with Jaina, is that right now, Jaina and Gen fulfill basically the same role within the Alliance. They're two prominent Alliance figures with deep-seated hatred of the Horde, and whether they know all the details of what happened or not surrounding what happened to Varian, like, they're mad about it and they're upset. And so they're fulfilling the same role. And the reason that I'm not saying like, well, I hate what they're doing with Gen, is that to me, yeah, Jaina had something really horrible happen to her. And the guy who's responsible was punished not just by the Alliance, but by the Horde. Whereas Gen also has a legitimate beef with the Horde, and the people responsible for the stuff that Gen's upset about have not been taken out of the picture, in fact, have become more prominent within the Horde. So I feel like his beef is stronger than ever, and hers is, while still understandable, I don't know. They just took a character I really like, and now every time I interact with her, I'm just like, gosh, dang it, I wish they would do something different. It just continues to bother me every time she shows up, because I was a big Jaina fan, and I'm okay with characters changing and evolving and going through, events and stuff, but even from trying to appreciate it from that perspective, I just don't like it. It just, something feels completely off about it.
I feel like... Go ahead.
The thing that I have the biggest issue with is the fact that if you had read War Crimes, and John, I think you actually did, at the end of that, she's not like, yay, Horde, we should be friends, but she's like accepted everything that's happened and comes to terms with the fact that Garrosh, I almost said Garrison. Garrosh is not the Horde. And, he's the one who did the bombing. The people who were responsible for that are gone, are taken care of, like you said. And it like that whole like major rage was placated, and also in the Jaina book she was like kind of calmed down, still hated everything, but I don't know, is it just because maybe the amount of screen time, if you want to call it that she has is just so minimal that they have to be like, oh, she really hates the Horde, we have to make sure everybody knows that.
I don't know. Go ahead, bro.
I was going to say that, do you think that it's a matter of Blizzard having difficulty, and man, it feels weird for me to go this direction, but I'm really starting to wonder now if Blizzard just has difficulty when it comes to developing, it sounds cliche, but a strong female character that has development and actually shows progression and stuff like that. I find it weird that we had Yrel in Warlords of Draenor, and at the end of Warlords of Draenor, she says, if you need us, we'll be here. And I could go off on a whole other rant about that, because it's like, well, we could use Yrel now more than ever.
She was saying, if you need us, we're just going to be here.
Right.
Like, we're not going to help you there. We're going to help you here.
We will be here, right, away from you.
Exactly.
Creepos.
It was more of a warning than a, yeah, we're buddies. So,
but I'm wondering if they're just having trouble trying to find an end game or a path for Jan to take. I feel like, I wonder if they believe they've painted themselves into a corner with her, even though I don't think that's necessarily the case. It does feel like 2 years, well, even more than 2 years. It feels like all the development that happened with her since the moment the bomb was dropped on Theramore basically got erased. But then on top of that, you have all the anger and stuff that she has, but now they're also seemingly writing her out of the story, at least for the foreseeable near future. I feel like Jaina's going to be a factor later on in this expansion, but definitely not until like a latter content patch. And there's already been, of course, like a couple days before we recorded this, they're already talking about patch 7.1, and they've mentioned that there's going to be an additional smaller raid that concludes the Stormheim storyline. And I haven't even, on the beta, I didn't even play through Stormheim, so I'm not sure exactly what that's all going to mean. But I think it's pretty clear that Jaina won't appear in 7.1 based on what we've heard about 7.1 so far. So we probably wouldn't see her until at the very earliest, the early part of next year.
Yeah.
Well, 7.2 is going to be trolls. Then 7.3 she'll show up again.
I don't necessarily think this is the best panel to maybe go down the full discussion of how well Blizzard writes female characters, because there's nothing worse than 3 guys discussing how female characters are treated in a story. But, I mean, it is a criticism that is out there. It is a criticism that exists. It's one I happen to agree with. I mean, even characters I like, Sylvanas, one of my favorite characters in this game, and I'm so excited about where she is in Legion and what they're doing, but I'm still having difficulty with her character because in the back of my head, the thing that I keep thinking is, well, just a couple expansions ago, you were telling everybody you're not going to use the plague, and then you did on Gilneas, and you're killing Prince Liam, and then you're torturing Koltira, and you're doing all this really evil stuff, and now it's like...
She wanted to kill her sister to bring her into the Forsaken.
Yeah, in the books. And and then on top of that, although you can... Okay, this is going to sound super dark, but understand that it's... I don't know. This is me justifying, I guess. But from a weird, twisted place, like, there was kind of a sweetness to that sister thing. I'm not saying it was genuinely sweet, but, like... It hinted that maybe Sylvanas feels emotions beyond just, like, I'm depressed and mad.
Yeah, she's not all edgy and emo.
But yeah, now it's like they've done this turn where it's like, oh, hey, we'd love to have a cool lead female character. Let's make that Sylvanas, and they're making that decision, which granted I like, but they're making it in spite of everything that has led up to this point.
And see,
yeah, it doesn't... I feel like we're missing some connective tissue as far as, like, just based on what we knew about Sylvanas and how we saw Sylvanas act and react to certain things in the previous story. I do kind of find myself asking to a point, why is she accepting the war chief title? What are her motivations? It's one of those things that... man, and I hate to say this too, but it's one of those things where I really wish that, of all the earlier lore stuff we've had in the Legion hype and build-up and stuff like that, I feel like there should have been a comic or a lore piece that kind of helps us explain why Sylvanas would go ahead and accept the War Chief title, or why she would act the way she did in the Broken Shore cinematic. And another thing that I find weird about that is she called the Valkyrie to save everyone in the Horde, but as some people pointed out, why didn't the Valkyrie try to help some of the Alliance out at the same time? Because in the earlier parts of that whole Broken Shore scenario, and even in the cinematic that opens up Legion itself, it does seem like Sylvanas and Varian are working together and have no problem working together fighting the Legion. But in that one instance where she calls the retreat, the Valkyrie completely ignore the Alliance, and that seems off and out of character just when you consider the way they were working together just moments ago.
Well, I mean,
Well,
she called them in to save the Horde. That's
doesn't
why.
she only have 3?
Uh,
There were
Like,
more than 3 in the cinematic. That's
right,
another thing people are talking about.
well,
and there were
yeah.
4. I mean, canonically, she doesn't have many.
Initially, there were the 3, and then they all died to resurrect her.
Well, no, there were 9 total.
Okay.
Mhm.
3 of them, 3 of them did sacrifice themselves to resurrect her, and then another couple were lost along the way. It's been a while since I've read all the backlore and stuff like that, but it did start with several, and she is now down to like 3. But there are lesser Valkyr. It's not like they're the 3 Valkyr, the only Valkyr she has. So I'm assuming when she called for the retreat that lesser Valkyr were involved in rescuing people also.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and this is kind of shifting it away from where we were a little bit, but still keeping with that. As much as I love, and we talked about it a lot last week, as much as I love those cinematics in that scenario, I'm thinking of it this way, and I'm starting to begin to think that maybe they missed on one important key aspect. So there is a lot of actual like tension between Horde and Alliance, and I think that's good. And by the way, to everybody who has played along with the Horde versus Alliance thing, I think that's cool. I think it's fun to see that back in the game. As usual, there's a few of you taking it a little too seriously.
Just a bit.
And I say that as somebody who gives up every Friday night to talk about the game, so understand where that's coming from and maybe what that means. But for the most part, people are having fun with it, and that's good. But keep in mind that the ultimate goal of the story is for us as players to see the Horde and the Alliance as failing at a greater level, and us saying, okay, forget the Horde, forget the Alliance. It's up to us as insert class here to band together and be the ones to bring about the destruction of the Legion. And I worry that maybe by tearing the rift again in the Horde and the Alliance, which I guess they had to do, it's kind of moved that focus away where it's like, no, we're still mad at each other. When we really should be thinking, no, we need to band together under our class banners to go fight the Legion. But maybe we'll see more of that when we get to actual Legion.
Well, I think one of the things about Legion is there's more than just one, antagonist as far as like a force or an enemy goes. One antagonist is obviously the Legion. They're the ones at the top. They're the big what the show is all about. But I think just the divide and the conflict between the Alliance and the Horde is meant to be, in essence, another antagonist for the player characters. I mean, it's that friction and it's that conflict between the Alliance and the Horde which actually will get in the way of progressing against the Legion at a time where fighting against each other is really not the thing that that either side should be doing right now. Despite all the losses that have been incurred, despite what perspectives each side has about the other.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I understand that. I understand that it has to be there, and in order to keep the whole two-side system going and everything. I get that, and I do have to say that with the the Broken Shore scenario and everything with that, Blizzard's done the best explanation that I've seen for them to actually have any sort of animosity of one side to the other. It might be Horde bias on my part because it's what I play. But even after seeing everything that I could, minus the Demon Hunter stuff, because I, don't have access to that yet, it all boils down to, okay, this is one of those like romantic comedy things where if they would just like talk like normal people, everything would be fine. And that's like kind of the hard part. But then kind of wheeling it all the way back, that's where Gen and Jaina are being the foils to that and actually stopping that from happening. But I don't see anyone on the Horde side actually like reaching out. Like Bane would be someone who might do that. Heck, maybe even Sylvanas as the new war chief, depending on what she's trying to accomplish and how she's, kind of staging and presenting herself as that. Maybe we'll get more of that in Legion itself, but it's just a misunderstanding at this point, and I don't know how strong that's going to be to keep this conflict going when the Legion is seriously just raining down fire from the sky on us.
Well, I think they picked the right side to have, be kind of the victims of misunderstanding with the Alliance, because the thing about Gen, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, is he has legitimate beef with the Horde. Forget all misunderstandings and misgivings. His son was straight up murdered by Sylvanas. His city was poisoned by Sylvanas. Now, you can track it back and say, well, Garrosh forced them to invade Gilneas, and that's true. But at the end of the day, her methods and how that all went down was her. In fact, the orcs were even saying, don't poison them, don't use the plague, and then she did it on her own. So there is legitimate beef to be had between those, and so I think a misunderstanding is all it takes for him to say, you know what, no, I'm done, I'm good not having to deal with you guys anymore. And
I can see Gen doing that, and maybe even like trying to splinter off the Worgen, which again, gameplay rules, that probably won't happen, but like that is the most legitimate thing in this, and it's one race versus essentially Sylvanas and the undead.
Yeah.
Like, just, I mean, what do the dwarves and the gnomes care? I mean, the whole war thing's going over their head anyway. They're just there to fight.
Yeah, but who's the one telling them what went down?
Yeah, true. Okay. And I mean, Gen does seem to be able to, inspire stuff in his own people. So he's probably got, really good speeches to give to everybody about how horrible we are. So I guess, it's starting to work out a little better.
Look, Gen inspired some stuff in me. That guy's cool. I like Gen.
You just want to pet him. You think he's cool.
I do kind of want to pet Gen. There's that moment where he yells to pull the ship away to try to avoid the big Fel Reaver coming down from the sky, and he just looks like a cute little puppy, and I just kind of want to scratch his chin and just be like, hey, Gen, what's up?
Who's a good leader? Who's a leader?
Who's telling him to pull hard to port? Who's telling him you are?
I'm going to be interested in seeing what kind of conflict, if any, there is between Gen and Anduin in Legion. That's one thing I'm really intrigued about, because I mean, obviously we know the history that Anduin has in Mists of Pandaria, and how he's been, for the most part, kind of a peacekeeper. I mean, he kind of took over the role that Jaina had for a good long portion of World of Warcraft in regards of being the one who feels that peace can be had, we can work together, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's a scenario now where he's basically being told that his father died because the Horde pulled out. How does that change him? Will it change him much? And how much will Anduin and Gen agree on how to go about doing things? If anything, when it comes to all of the characters that we are going to see in Legion, the one character I'm most interested in seeing develop and change and grow for better or worse is Anduin.
Okay, what about this? What if there's actually a power struggle in the Alliance and Gen takes over leadership as a whole? Because I don't know, maybe Anduin's deemed too inexperienced or something to lead the whole thing. I don't know. I mean,
I can see it. It makes sense for him to say, if Anduin's still going down the road of peace, and for some weird reason, the comic book felt the need to establish that Anduin, I don't know, a road takes many winding turns before it reaches the end, but did anyone else think it was weird that comic book flashed forward to old Anduin?
Yeah. Little.
I find it a little weird, but I also, as WoW is kind of a comic book story in a way, in that it at time will have no shame in adopting many comic book story like tropes and such. Just because they show a fast forward of Anduin with Velen right before the final battle, with Anduin being much older and being called High King, that doesn't necessarily mean it's absolutely going to happen. I mean, we've dealt with alternate timelines with Draenor and stuff already. That flash forward can be easily written off or explained in any number of ways should the creative team decide to change their mind.
Oh, yeah, I agree it could totally change, but I think the fact that it was approved to happen right here kind of sets a tone that, at least for right now, this is where their mind is. You know, somebody encouraged that or approved that to be a part of the story. So this idea that Anduin goes on to be a revered good king is kind of a known quantity at this point. That granted, yes, it could change, but as of right now, that's the path.
But how long does it take to get to the end of that path? That's the thing. What if there's some sort of civil unrest or something that happens here later on? He kind of, shows everybody the light, so to speak, and becomes super revered later on. I mean, sometimes some leaders take a little while before they grow to, into the position.
Yeah, I think the point of having that scene in the comic was mainly to show readers that this is what he can eventually turn out to be. He has the potential to be the greatest of the human rulers that Azeroth has ever seen. He has the potential to be the one that helps lead the Army of Light, as has been one of the prophecies that Velen had and all that stuff. I think they wanted.
Wand?
I don't think so. He had. In the comic, he had his father's sword, that's a whole other thing. It's like, okay, how did he get the sword back?
He did have the sword. For some reason, I remembered looking at him and being like, that looks weird. I thought he had a wand. Maybe it was a scepter.
Is it like one half of the sword?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, well, that makes sense then. I don't know. It just does. So what you're saying, Ro, is that is essentially Anduin's fight with Vader in the cave. He sees what he could see in the future, or could be.
I guess it's more. I just think that scene was put in there by the writers to remind players that, hey, this guy's destined for something great, and they've already had. There was already talk about a prophecy about Anduin leading an army of light, although it's never outright said who the Army of Light is fighting. That's another thing about that final scene. Just because it talks about them going into their final fight, I don't believe in that scene that it ever specifically mentions that they're about to fight against the Legion for the last time. That actually could be them preparing to fight against something bigger than Legion, something that most of us may not even know about yet. So there's a whole lot of unknowns about that. But for me, when it comes to Anduin, I mean, that's to see where he could be at the end is kind of cool, but I am definitely more so interested about the journey of how he gets there.
Okay, looking in the chat room, Antibus, okay, they don't like buses, said, well, he had two teachers over the last two expansions, the Black Dragon in Mist of Pandaria, so Wrathion, and his conversations with Garrosh in his cell. How much did they corrupt him? But see, like, I don't know. I don't think that they're going to take like a corruption kind of deal. I think that if anything, he learned how to better himself above them, even though, I mean, who knows if Wrathion was trying to manipulate him or not, because we still don't know.
Definitely manipulating him, but whether Anduin was falling for it or not, I don't think he ever was. I always felt that the strength of Anduin in those scenes was that here were people trying to manipulate and take advantage of him, and here was him actually not falling for it. Because I never felt like he lost his edge over Wrathion, and I never felt like he lost his edge over Garrosh.
It's funny, I mean, I may be dangerously segueing us into a whole other line of conversation, but just bringing up Raytheon, as far as I can tell, at least up to this point, maybe he'll play a part later on, but Raytheon doesn't seem to have a role yet in the early happenings of Legion, which is interesting considering how he was kind of this big harbinger, talking about the Legion is coming, we need to be ready for them, we must rebuild the final Titan, if you saw the whole legendary cloak quest line and all that. It feels awkward that Raytheon is not a key player in Legion from page 1, and yet he's not. Do you think that's a missed opportunity, or is it not really a big deal to you guys?
I wouldn't be surprised if Raytheon shows up before it's all said and done. I think that if he doesn't show up this expansion, I think it would be weird. We'll see how the story goes. I don't want to say, oh, this is a missed opportunity because, who knows? If the story's good without him, then the story's good without him. But considering this was kind of the thing he was all about, at least it seems to be the thing that he was all about, it would be weird if he didn't show up.
Look, if he does, and the first thing he asks isn't, hey, where's that cloak we made? I'm going to have issues. Because seriously, it's supposed to be this legendary item that it's always going to be there, and all of a sudden it's like, never mind. But I agree with you, though. What is up with the fact that he predicted this whole thing? He hasn't been around. I mean, did he even ever spend any time with Khadgar or anything in Draenor? Like, he wasn't even really in Draenor for the most part, except when he showed up at, Admiral Jacobs or whatever's garrison.
I mean, there's also a distinct possibility he's incognito. He could be one of the key players in Legion just in disguise, and we don't know it yet.
He was at that
What if
garrison?
Raytheon is Khadgar?
Did I miss that completely? He was at the garrison?
There was a book you can read or something that talked about him being their prisoner or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, a tiny thing. But yeah, I mean, okay, so if he did have a role, what would it be? Just bringing a dragon flight against the demons, maybe? I mean, what's going on with them too? I mean, granted, they don't have their aspect powers and everything, but dragons against demons, that's kind of a big deal.
Well, I mean, who knows? This story can take a lot more twists and turns, because one of the bits of information that has been, they haven't shied away from it before, but has definitely come out of Gamescom, was that they are not going to commit to a time frame for expansions. And I think initially we had kind of commented and said it's now going to be 2 years, but they're not even saying that. They're just saying no. Their goal is to have consistent content to play with no big gaps, and a new expansion will happen when a new expansion happens. And if you look at it from that way, if you say, okay, well, whether that's going to be a year or 2 years or longer, there's a lot of story that could potentially be told in that time, and there's no real reason why one of those stories couldn't be what are the dragon flights, and specifically what's Raytheon doing during that time.
Yeah.
I have no problem with waiting an extra year before I have to pay another $50. I mean, seriously, when it comes down to it, I feel like they're making that change, and they finally decided, okay, we can't push out expansions faster. We just need to focus on more regular content and stuff like that. I feel like that change could only have happened once something like Warlords of Draenor happened to the game, and the game took such a big drop and a spike. Now, given World of Warcraft is still the largest subscription MMO out there, but that being said, for a large number of players, there was trust lost, and now the dev team has to rebuild that trust. And they're also in a position where, when you look at things from like a financial point of view, it's not necessarily all about WoW making most of the bucks for them. I think Hearthstone and Overwatch are pretty much pulling the lion's share of what Blizzard makes as far as Activision Blizzard goes. So I don't think there's as much pressure now to come out with a box expansion every year and a half or 2 years. If that doesn't happen, that's not the end of the world. Rather, do what they can to focus on retaining the players that they have right now to make sure that those subscriptions continue to be paid month to month, or those WoW tokens, which cost more than a subscription, continue to be bought month to month.
Well, and see, I agree with you in the fact that the focus isn't on getting, big jumps in boxes sold and everything, but financially it makes complete sense for them to keep doing content like this, because you're right, the financial focus is keep the people playing the game the entire time. And I'm not going to be crazy and be like, oh, they just do it for the love of the game. It's like, that's there, but they have to keep WoW profitable in order to keep it going for the fans as well. So if they're making it great because they're trying to keep that, that's only better for all of us.
Now, there are a couple of things that I think are going to be important as we kind of go into this this kind of new era of approach to the game. And that is going to be how willing they are to make significant changes within a patch cycle. So in the past, when the idea was, no, you're going to get a new expansion every year, they didn't want to ever do major class changes or big updates within an expansion. However, if we're looking at, 2 to 3 years during a single expansion pass, I don't think they can turn a blind eye anymore to if a class is really underperforming and needs, significant tuning, which they have done recently. There have been times where you got the impression that they just said, well, there's going to be a new expansion in a couple of months, which ended up being wrong, but that seemed to be the outlook. And so we'll just ignore it until then. And I don't think they can do that going forward. And I think that if you take Warlords of Draenor as an example, where something seems cool at first and turns out to not be a very welcome addition, like Garrisons turned out to be by the end, you can't say, all right, well, we'll have Garrisons stick around for 2 to 3 years. You have to be in a position that's willing to say, even within the expansion cycle, we need to find a way to shift away from this, which I kind of think they succeeded in this event, because I haven't been back to my Garrison since this event started.
What's a Garrison?
No reason at all. But, and I mean, class balances and changes and stuff like that, I think it's going to be something that they're focusing on, as well as like just trying to keep everybody engaged. So then we have to kind of look at it and decide what is the next expansion. Not like, thematically or anything like that, but what's the difference between content versus expansion? If they're going to have a long time in between, official expansions, then does that mean that it's just a new landmass is located and we go there, or we finally take the ship to Eridar or whatever, or Argus, sorry. Where is that definition going to come? I mean, don't get me wrong, I am more than happy to keep playing contents in a single expansion as long as they're giving, good storylines, good content, and things for everybody to do. It's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed Pandaria until the almost year-long of Siege of Orgrimmar.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to that kind of thing, I think one of the things that an expansion tends to do that content patches don't do anywhere near as much is at least give the impression of significant progression for your character. You're leveling up your character another 5 levels or another 10 levels and such like that. That's a whole other conversation if the whole leveling scheme really needs to continue, or if we need to move into something like Paragon levels or such. I think that the way that the team has artifacts set up right now, where that very final artifact trait for every artifact is basically a performance modifying thing that scales up over time and costs like tons and tons of artifact points to completely max it out. And they're planning to expand upon artifacts further as the expansion goes on. So I feel like they're going to make use of improving upon the artifact as a way to also do those class changes that they have to do. If they see that there's a class underperforming, then one way they can do it is, well, of course you can tweak some numbers here and there, but if they feel that the class is missing an element that's crucial to class fantasy or crucial to making it feel fun to play, then one solution for that is to incorporate that element into the whole artifact system. And then when they get to the next expansion, do much like they've done the past couple of expansions and just bake those artifact traits and stuff into the class as part of just a, long-term thing. But I think that the biggest thing is you have so many people that play the game for so many reasons. A lot of people play the game for the lore. A lot of people play the game for the loot. Some people play the game just to socialize and have it be a glorified chat channel. The biggest challenge for the team within a single expansion is satisfying each section of that player base. And I have to say that just with, talking about 7.1 and what they've talked about 7.1 so far is they've said there's 3 key elements of it. One being Karazhan as a 5-man mythic dungeon. So you're appealing to your small groups there. They're going to add another small raid, which appeals to your raiders out there. And they're going to improve on outdoor content in Suramar, which basically appeals to your solo content players. So looking ahead, it seems like they're going to try to do what they can to add content for as many different parts of the player base as possible. So far, it seems like they're on the right track. And we can speculate about this for hours and hours and hours, but I would say that at this point before the expansion launches, compared to what we were thinking about Warlords of Draenor before it launched, I feel this, it may seem like hyperbole, but I feel better about the state of the game now than I felt about the state of the game a couple weeks before Warlords launched.
Yeah, I completely agree. And look, I would not fault a single person for taking a slightly jaded stance towards Blizzard's promise that there's not going to be a content lull. I completely understand where not believing them would come in. But to me, at least, they have said the best they can say. What do you want them to say as far as words? At the end of the day, it's going to come down to what they do, and they've acknowledged that as well. And I think what they're showing with 7.1 is very promising. And again, the same people that are going to be critics and not buy into it are going to say, well, that's 7.1. Let's see where they are when we're on the last raid tier of the expansion, and if we're doing that for an entire year or not. And I agree, but we're not going to know until we get there. Like, Blizzard has said that it's a problem. It's a problem they're trying to address, and the only thing we're going to find out, the only way we're going to find out is just by watching and finding out.
There is a forum post really quick that I just wanted to read that was featured on MMO Champion, where someone commented and said, "No content drought at the end of Legion. I don't believe you. You can say it won't happen, but we've had that happen 3 times. Actions speak louder than words, guys." And the reply, which I think is from a community manager, says, "Actions do indeed speak louder than words. I think we all realize that this is a fact and that winning the trust of the community takes more than what some may see as just words. As Watcher discussed yesterday, there was a period where our main focus was faster expansions, and in pursuit of that goal, we sacrificed what ended up making making experience worse for everyone. We're now focusing on a steady stream of content, making sure to keep our story going along and filling the time between new expansions. We really hope that you guys see this difference in Legion and our goals to avoid situations where we don't have significant content for 14 months. I am fine with a content drought of 4 to 5 months. I think that if we go 3 or 4 months without anything new and people are wondering, hey, what's going on? I think those people are being a little too jumpy. If we can get a new content, if we can get a new content patch every 5 to 6 months, I will be more than happy with that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's pretty much the pace that we had in Wrath of the Lich King up until Icecrown Citadel. And I think Mists of Pandaria was even better than that.
Yeah, Mists of Pandaria was a little bit faster. I think that was like 3 months there. See, the only problem is that everybody's going to come to a point where, it's too long as, a content drought. Everybody has their own different levels and stuff like that. To me personally, I don't think that time between patches is really the you can't nail it down. Everything always comes down to what's actually in the patch that was last presented. I mean, if the last patch before the expansion is, all this content, it's stuff that keeps me engaged and keeps me wanting to play in game, then I'm good for, maybe 6-8 months if there's enough there. And from what it seems like Blizzard is trying to put in, everything that they can to just fill our time between those patches. And that's what matters. And I mean, with all the changes already going into Legion compared to what they had with Draenor, and I mean, I hate to say this, but how many times did they say on, live Q&As, in the forums, and everywhere, like BlizzCon even, we've heard what we did wrong. We know what we did wrong. I mean, they've been admitting it since, 5.1 dropped, that they dropped the ball in Warlords of Draenor. I mean, you got to love them for being able to understand, one, what the fans want, and two, just really seeing that, oh, crap, we did do that wrong. I mean, they've even said that the whole concept and everything about, like those Apexis dailies, in theory, it sounded great until, boom, that's all that you have. And I think it was Ian Hazzikostas who even said it's like it was really great. And then once it actually came in there, it was no fun to do. It's just one of those things that they're learning. They know what they need to do for this next expansion. And personally, I am really excited because I want to see what they've learned, how they're going to swing the pendulum back the other way, and bring it into something closer to Lich King or Pandaria, or hell, if it's better than those expansions, bravo. How hard would it be to actually come out on top of those two? And if they are able to do it, then all trust is regained on my end.
Yeah, and I think it just ultimately comes down to, we are at a stage. Most people, when they talk about the content drought, they're talking about the distance between last patch and next expansion. We're quite a ways away from that right now, so it's going to take a long time for this to prove out. So you're either in for Legion or you're not, and if you're not, again, I can't fault you. I'm not going to say anybody's wrong for feeling burned by what happened in Warlords, but I'm hopeful and I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt and see what happens this time. And that's kind of just universally where we're at. There is one other bit of information that I have, but it's kind of insider information and I don't think I'm supposed to say it, so I'm not gonna. But there are things that I have heard about ways they approached this release and some things they've done leading up to Legion internally that makes me think they're very aware of some of the problems that Warlords had and are doing some neat things to try and avoid it. So, I mean, like Ben said, they're a company aware of the mistakes they made, and we'll see what happens this go around. So far I've liked Legion. On par with what I liked on Warlords of Draenor, and it's not even out yet, so it's off to a pretty decent start.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider that the pre-cinematics, the cinematics before Legion even launch, in my opinion, the content was as good, if not much better than the whole Wrathgate sequence. This whole Broken Shore thing just was making me nostalgic for the Wrathgate portion of Wrath of the Lich King. It just feels like it's taking that kind of magic that the whole Wrathgate event had, and then the events, right after it, and just building on top of it 10 times so. And then to know that another patch is going on the PTR practically right when Legion launches, which means that, guys, in a couple months when we make the trek to Anaheim and go to BlizzCon to find out, what's happening with all the Blizzard games and stuff, we're not going to be hearing about what's happening in 7.1. We're probably going to find out what they're planning for 7.2, and that kind of blows my mind.
Or by that point, maybe even 7.3. Who knows?
That might be a bit. Hold your horses.
Well, no, they might have like a, this is what's coming in the future. Is like we have this kind of going, and based on that, this is kind of where we're thinking of heading this. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's possible they could be talking about it. Depends on what the contents of 7.2 are. If it's a smaller patch, and I don't think anybody would be surprised if it was, considering, what 7.1 is shaping up to be, it wouldn't surprise me if maybe they're talking about both.
New filters for the selfie cam is what it is.
Yeah, new selfie cam across the board. All new selfie cam. Now you got a selfie stick. You got to go build it out of parts.
They'll add the Overwatch bird to World of Warcraft. Ganymede will make an appearance, and he'll be Pepe's best friend.
Totally. Okay, this is totally off WoW topic, but how great was that cinematic?
It was pretty decent.
Oh, so good.
I liked it. I thought it was good. It wasn't my favorite, but I liked it a lot. I know I'm committing sacrilege by saying it wasn't my favorite, because I know a lot of people are super on board with that one.
My favorite was still the Widowmaker one.
Me too.
I think my favorite was Brothers.
Well, that was really good too. Okay, they're all awesome. I did like the Bastion one, but because I like robots. So, anyways, there is one really quick bit of business that I think we need to take care of. Tomorrow is John's birthday, everybody.
Oh, no.
So, traditionally, we did something in FERT. In fact, it actually originated here years ago when it was Sarah's birthday, and you guys were recording live because we were driving out of town. So, I gotta say, hey, John.
Yes, Ben.
Happy birthday
Well, thank you, guys. It turns out it sounds very different when it's just two. There's kind of this weird harmony to it. It's actually kind of nice. I'm used to hearing it with a whole raid team doing it, and I don't know. There's
when the whole raid's doing it, it's just dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
It's basically just noise at that point, and you just kind of sing your part as loud as possible and try and tune the rest out. But that was actually kind of pleasant. And now I know what a Murloc saying John sounds like. So
exactly. Like that.
Happy 24th birthday, John.
It's off by a bit. But thank you. I don't know if I'm old enough yet to be into lying about my age just yet.
John,
I definitely
But
am.
maybe I'm just cranky enough that I'm like, no, make me older, because then I just get more and more justified to be the way I am.
Well, you're what, 32?
I'm going to be 32.
Wow. Happy birthday, John. It's been a pleasure knowing you for 16 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah, 16 years.
or 17, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Well, I started in 2000, so yeah, 16 years. Amazing. Anyways, Ro, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. You are always a blast to have on. Where can people find you?
They can check me out on Twitter at Rowow, RHOWOW. You can also find the Realm Maintenance Podcast on Twitter at Realm Podcast, or find the show on your podcasting app of choice where you do the SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, whatever, even Zune, I think. Is that still a thing? Or you can go to realm-maintenance.com. If you love Blizzard games and you like listening to podcasts about those games, check out my show and you'll find out about more podcasts covering those games.
Very true. Very true. It's good. If you don't listen to it, but you want more WoW, that is the place to go. I recommend it.
And there's, I guess I should kind of tease really quick that on August 30th, when Legion launches, there will be another roundtable-ish episode of Realm Maintenance. Totally not ripping off this show's ideas at all. But I'm going to have podcasters from several different shows: Bell from Pwnecast, Rich from Horde for Life, Seraphita from Dalaran Academy, and Mike from Stopcast. And we're just going to spend an hour or so talking about our thoughts about Legion. Basically, if you want a little more Azeroth Roundtable-ish kind of stuff, yet for some reason you don't want to listen to Ben and John, and I don't get that. But if you want more Roundtable in your life, listen to that August 30th show.
Careful, because now we're going to get a whole lot of feedback of, that sounds heavenly. You fixed the one problem I had with the show.
Exactly. John, what about you? Where can people find you?
Well, hey, everybody, John here. And if you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at John_Jagger. You can catch me on Core, which is a Heroes of the Storm podcast, part of the Frog Pants Network. You can find out more about that at heroesview.com. In addition to that, I was a guest host on The Gamers Inn this week. And
Very cool.
So Jocelyn was out of town. I stepped in, filled in for her, and talked some No Man's Sky with Ryan Murphy, and it was a good time, and you should check that episode out. And, yeah, that's me.
I do want to mention a quick aside since you brought up Core.
Core!
Bo, because I know you're in the chat room right now. I see you're in chat. Bo, I do think that John should get a free loot box on the next episode of Core! As part of his birthday. So just keep that in mind.
A birthday loot box.
Yep.
Next Eperty. It follows me everywhere.
It's pretty awesome.
Yep. If you're looking for me, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Ben the Mage. Do a show with Eludra called Battle Pets, where we talk about battle pets in the world of Warcraft. Do one with Lita and Alakaz called Geektopia, where we talk about geeky stuff. And this show, however, you can find us on Twitter. We are at AzerothRT. Every single episode is available on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, somewhere on Alpha Geek Radio, and of course, AzerothRoundtable.com. If you want to tell us about how we're wrong or how we're right, or you just want to, pick a bone with John, you can always email us at AzerothRoundtable@gmail.com. And last but not least, our intro contains music from Rhino's theme by Kevin MacLeod. And you can find more of his music at incompetech.com.
Hey, everybody. John here again.
Hi, John.
At the end of the show.
Hi, John.
Hey, I got some cool news to share with y'all. So, cool news number one. Talked a little bit about it last week, but gonna go ahead and commit to it this weekend. I am going to be uploading a little video for our patrons on our Patreon account. That's Azeroth, or patreon.com/AzerothRT, of me power leveling Ben in Diablo. Yes, the game that Ben for so long avoided like the plague and kind of occasionally played here and there. We power leveled him all the way up to a max level character, and we recorded it all. And so we're going to put that up for patrons. So if you want to see that, you can support us on Patreon. Don't have to pay a lot. You can pay as little as a cent an episode and still be able to get that content. And in addition to that, it's coming up on time for Ben and I to do another patron-exclusive episode. Actually, I'm going to say the patron-exclusive episode because, we're a WoW show, and I didn't think it was right necessarily to say, oh, no, the patron-exclusive is this Diablo thing. So we're going to find time to do that and put that together. But one more little tease, and I haven't told Ben about this, so I can't be too specific because if he gets mad at me or says no, then we're going to have to figure something else out. but we are
No, John.
We are dangerously close to our $50 an episode goal, and when we hit that, we are going to give the reward tier for that, but I think we might expand that particular reward tier a little bit. And I'll talk to Ben on ways we can do that, or maybe even do something a little special if we hit it before Legion comes out. So Ben and I are going to talk more about that, but if you want to help us reach that goal and find out more about that, again, that's patreon.com/AzerothRT.
And what if they wanted to support us in a different way, John?
Well, see, Ben, I've talked for so long. I feel like the natural thing is for you to take the next bit.
Well,
that's why I always stop. I'm like, all right, I've been talking for forever. Ben should talk.
Well, now that we've sussed out that little bit of programming that we've never
show
talked
prep,
about
yeah.
before, if you don't like us enough to put a Patreon, or you already are, or just don't feel like I don't know, that's very negative. I don't mean to be like that. But I can be very positive about the official Azeroth Roundtable necklace and or keychain. That's right. Comes in 2 different flavors, our standard logo and then our, I guess, Twitter logo, which is the best way to put it. You can always find those at geekasylum.etsy.com. Pick one up today. Help us out.
I have a question.
42.
Can I wear the Azeroth Roundtable necklace and then put a key on it so that's both a necklace and a keychain?
Sure.
I don't see why not.
And I don't have to pay extra?
I checked the rules. It's in the rules.
Nice.
We'll allow
You
it.
do not pay extra. AzerothRoundtable.com.
Azeroth Roundtable, not making you pay extra.
Job's done. Garrett may get angry for me saying that. I don't know. But
Okay, job's not done.
job's not done.
There, see.
Something.
And I'm done recording the podcast.
Okay, we're done. We did it. That's a show. It's a show, everybody. That's a show.
Save project as art show.
Art show. Art
Do
show.
you have any ideas on what you're going to do for this month's Digital Murloc?
Yeah, I've been playing with some, like a kind of a new style of drawing them. People who follow me on Twitter have probably seen a few teases of kind of the style of drawing it. And I think I might run with that a little bit and do something a little more stylized, a little more cutesy this week. Or this month.
I like
not this
your
week.
plush-looking ones. Those are pretty cool.
My what one? What?
Your plush-looking kinds?
Oh, yeah, where they look like little dolls.
Yeah. They're pretty awesome.
So, that's the plan. That's the plan, man.
Ro, I have something for you.
You do.
Spider-Man!
Spider-Man!
That's all.
Yes.
Man, Spider-Man news has been great lately. So excited. There's so much good stuff coming.
Ben's really happy about Homecoming.
I'm really happy about Homecoming, and in addition to Homecoming, I'm really excited about Renew Your Vows getting to be its own series now. So no longer do I have to put up with the bullshit post one more day universe for Spider-Man.
So, wait, so how does that work? So they're doing I haven't read up on this, so they're doing a Renew Your Vows thing that's like they're basically doing, they're not making that main universe canon, are they, or?
No, this is, so it sounds like this is still going to be an alternate reality, although you never know. Sometimes they're being cagey and they're being surprising. But basically, during that whole Spider-Verse thing, they did a little arc called Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, and it focused on a Peter Parker who was married to Mary Jane and had a kid, had a daughter. And they are going to be focusing on that family and that dynamic of Peter's as its own ongoing series from now until the day they don't do it anymore. And so the things that are really awesome, it's written by Jerry Conway, who is a not only notorious Spider-Man writer, he's the person who killed Gwen Stacy, but he, obviously a fantastic writer, creator of The Punisher. Just he's great. But it's art by Ryan Stegman, who is absolutely hands down one of my favorite Spider-Man artists in the world. He's phenomenal. He was the initial artist during the why can't I think of it? When Doc Ock was Spidey, the Superior Spider-Man. Yeah.
Oh, that's good art too. That's really good art.
Yes. So he's doing the art. Jerry Conway's writing. It's like a dream team on a dream project for me. I couldn't be more excited. They've revealed what Mary Jane and their daughter's costume is going to be.
They're so cool.
It is fantastic. And the funniest thing in the world to me is that the daughter's costume is designed as if a parent was designing their own kids' like superhero costume. So like the cowl is a helmet basically. Yeah. Like it's very safety minded. Like you can tell that this was a parent being like, no, we need to protect her.
Well, it's fun because it looks like the Earth's End spider armor that Peter made.
Yes. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but it does still look like a worried parent put it together for their kid. And actually, yep. Ryan Stegman was retweeting for a while. I'm seeing if I can find it here. Somebody kept sending him like their own fan-made comic about this universe and all that. Oh, it's not showing up in his because he was retweeting it. Let me...
It should, though.
Well, not under media. I'm just going to scroll through, see if I can find an actual link. I love the way that this person was drawing it because they draw it so different. Okay, I'm going to copy this image address. I'm going to just put it in the chat in case anybody else wants to see it. I love the way whoever's doing this comic is just drawing the kid's outfit. It's all big shoulder pads and a floaty duck and...
Nice.
Oh, that's perfect.
I'm actually looking at the pictures, like the actual pictures for the first time here. This is pretty cool.
So
yeah, it's good stuff. I'm really excited for it.
And that's not at all what the actual costume looks like.
Close enough.
But it's pretty darn funny to me.
Trying to find, there was actually a article that had the new stuff. I can't find it though.
Yeah, I found a tweet with it right now, but it's not letting me copy it as a link as easily as the other one did. For some reason.
In a cool superhero costume I designed myself. Oh, that's great.
It's been a while since I read the whole Renew Your Vows thing, and I'm trying to recall. Did Mary Jane gain powers, or is she just going to be in costume?
I think she has powers somehow. I don't know.
She did.
I know that
she was wearing a regent suit, and she was able to beat him up a little bit because of that. That's it, though.
Okay.
Well, she's got a full-on costume here, so maybe she has powers now. I don't know.
I mean, there have been so many versions of Mary Jane. There've been like multiple versions of Mary Jane where she had powers. Like I remember, she had powers on the whole Spider Island story. I think, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, but everybody did too.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing. I will say this.
Really quick. Bye, Alpha Geek. Have a good night.
I hope people know in this universe that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Because if they don't, these new costumes provide not very good anonymity for him and his family. It's like, oh, there's like these 3 spider people running around. A guy, a redheaded lady, and a redheaded daughter. Meanwhile, here's Peter Parker and his redheaded wife and redheaded daughter.
I have no idea what you're talking about, John. They look fine to me.
So I don't know. I don't think it's a very good disguise if it's supposed to be a secret identity. But If it's just like, hey, we're wearing a stylish costume, then it's okay.
Okay. Guess that works.
I mean, as it is, like, you know, I feel like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a good way to hide. It seems like people would figure it out quick.
Just is not a good way to hide.
Spider-Man!
Spider-Man.
That's your Spider-Man podcast, always tucked in at the end.
It's the Azeroth Roundtable Spider-Man post show.
Because we hit our Patreon goal of blah, blah, blah. No, that's not why we do it. We do it because we like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Is the $100 Patreon goal going to be the Spider-Man podcast?
Yeah, nothing but Spider-Man.
Wait, who?
It's called
Spider-Man!
It's called Thwip Thwip Spider-Man. If we ever do a Spider-Man
it should just be called Thwip Thwip.
I'm sure Thwip Thwip has to be
called
taken. Did you guys see the Kotaku story today? Now we are turning into another show at this point.
No.
Did you guys see the Kotaku story today about, it was by Kirk Hamilton, and he's upset because he doesn't like the way McCree says, "I'm your Huckleberry" in Overwatch?
No.
Okay, so there's a lot of funny things to this news story besides what the news story in and of itself is. Because I do think it's a pretty darn funny, like, already thing to write a whole article about. But possibly the funniest line in the entire thing is the very opening line where he says, "In the popular cosplay game Overwatch, one of the characters is a robot cowboy named McCree."
I wouldn't even call him a robot cowboy.
He's a total robot cowboy.
He's a cowboy with robot parts. He's not a robot cowboy.
That's a robot cowboy.
No, a robot cowboy would be Bastion with a cowboy hat on. That's a robot cowboy.
I don't know, man. But I do like the...
It's the ghost pirate ghost conversation.
I do like calling it the popular cosplay game. But what's great about it is, so he gives all the examples of why he doesn't like that it's used. The coolest part is that Matt Mercer, the guy who actually does the voice of McCree, responded to the article and said, "I'm pretty damn sure we recorded a multitude of inflections, including the one off the film, which I am a fan of." So apparently, according to him, it was recorded the way he wants it. It just didn't get used.
Okay, this it for some reason it's 20 seconds long, and it's not playing sound. Oh wait, there it is. You can't hear it at all, can you?
I can hear it a little bit.
I can hear it a little.
Yeah, not good enough.
What are you trying to play? The "I'm Your Huckleberry"?
Yeah, it was the play the game.
Are you here? Just click the link that I put in the chat. It's the third video in that article. It's nothing but him saying it the way he says it.
Load videos.
You may want to play Val Kilmer saying it first, so you have a baseline to judge.
Okay. Gosh, I love this movie so much. Oh, it's a long thing.
I didn't think you had it in you. I'm your Huckleberry.
Okay.
Oh, that's
we got that?
That's as far as you had to go. I'm your Huckleberry.
All right.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Let me bump this up a little bit. Let's just replay that really quick so you can hear it.
Well.
Sorry.
Well.
Apparently I have to go longer because it was...
I didn't think you had it in you. I'm your Huckleberry.
Okay. I'm your Huckleberry. Now McCree.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, that's not very good.
Oh.
I'm your Huckleberry.
I think I could have done it.
Spider-Man!
Spider-Man.
I think Spider-Man could have done a better job saying that too.
Yeah.
Nothing against Matt Mercer.
No, and I mean, he, like I said, he's a good sport, and he reached out and turned around and said, you know, we did multiple inflections. That choice wasn't on me. And also, I love the stories about how Matt Mercer trolls people in the game.
Yes, it's so good.
So,
bro, have you heard about this?
For anybody who hasn't heard, Matt Mercer, who does the voice of McCree, we've said that like 8 times, but I'm going to make it clear anyway.
He uses voice chat, doesn't he?
He uses voice chat, and he will say it's high noon over voice chat to make people hide.
Is there a YouTube video of this?
I don't know if he's ever done the... I don't know if it's ever been captured on YouTube.
I've never seen it.
That needs to be a thing.
It's high noon. Everybody just scatters.
And then people are like, McCree's not even on our team or their team. What's going on?
Must be a glitch.
Who switched to McCree?
I'm your Huckleberry.
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 Am I?
I'm your Huckleberry.
Berry.
Chill.
Guys, I gotta get up in 4.5 hours, so I'm going to cut out of here.
Yeah,
now.
we should let Ro go. We should all go. We should all go and do something fun.
Yeah. Ro, thank you very much for joining us. And
Yes.
especially thank you for staying on so late.
Not a problem. And if not sooner, I'm sure I will talk to you guys when there are predictions to be made.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah. There will be predictions. Yeah, the reign of Ben is almost over.
I also predict that Mitt will not be on the episode.
I would imagine Jocelyn would probably be the next best person to invite.
You know, we can't commit to anything because we're talking about people's schedules and all, but I would imagine that would be a logical choice.
Yes, it would be logical.
If I was a listener, I would consider that a strong possibility of someone we might ask to fulfill that role.
Indeed. All right.
Although it's like a cursed role.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Buddy.